there are a couple things on the way to this point that Jesus had told me. One, he said, London's going to be your home base when you're in England. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what that means, Jesus, but great. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Second, Jesus told me to thank the priest that I was about to talk to profusely for whatever he says. And so as he's saying this, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And so, and walking out of there, kind of discouraged, but I had asked, I knew the Christian Friars, the renewal, the CFRs were somewhere in London. So I asked for their address. And so I'm like, okay, Father, some home base that London's turning out to be right now, but I'm going to try to find the CFRs. So I go to the address that this priest sends me to, and I knock on the door, and he sent me to the wrong address. And so...
on purpose. Dun.
So I knock on the door of this parish called St. Margaret's, and it's in a place of London called Canning Town, which is also the Hood. So I'm smilingly walking through the Hood.
That's what you get for choosing the CFRs. Like, of course they live in the Hood. That's like, you should have chosen the Dominicans. Can you give me the address of the Dominicans?
Yes. So I knock on the door, and this older priest opens the door, and he says, "What are you doing on my step?" And I tell him, like, here's who I am. This is what I'm doing. Do you know where the friars are? And he said, "Oh, the friars. Yeah, come on in." and he invites me in, but he does this thing. He does the handshake, but he also like pulls you closer to the door as he's doing the handshake. He's like, you don't have a choice whether you're going to come in or not. You are coming into this rectory.
Yeah.
And he says, "My name is Monsignor Armitage. And what's your name?" Tell him my name. He looks me up online. He's like, "All right, yeah, you're on your picture's on the website, so you're good to go. And here's the key. You can have it for the whole month. This is going to be your home base when you're in England." And he literally verbatim says what the Lord had previously revealed. He said, "There are 2 steaks in the fridge. They're going to go bad. You should cook them up while I do mass. Holy hour starts at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'll see you in the morning."
That's amazing.
If you need anything, let me know. Where are you headed in London? Let's get you tickets to all the places that you need to go. Do you need any train tickets? Let's get those too. Oh, by the way, here's a funeral that I just did this morning. Here's 220 pounds.
That's amazing.
And so I ended my first night
with a steak.
With a steak dinner, 270 pounds in my pocket, and a key to a place.
That's insane.
For the whole entire month. And he was a young man who was discerning priesthood, was living with him, who was in his 20s. So I also got a best
fellowship.
Friend, best friend for a month, and Finn. And Monsignor Armitage slowly like unveils all the hats that he wears in the community, and who's like the former rector of their shrine, and he's like a chaplain for the Order of Malta and head of the chaplain for the Guild of Our Lady of Ransom. And he's just like, I eventually find out that if you're in England and you're Catholic, you know who Monsignor Armitage is.
Yeah.
And so I had a name to drop at every other place that I stayed at.
Yeah,
right. It was like,
let's put a pause there for a second, because I think like I'm just, as you're saying that story, it's obviously a radical representation of it. But I think there is such an experience for us as Christians where we come against despair, discouragement. We come against like words that seem like it's going to make it too difficult for us to do what we need to do. But like, it's often just on the other side of that, through faithfulness, that we actually see God's providence. You know, like it's just on the other side of that. Like if we don't give up in that discouragement or despair, if we don't go the other way, if we stay rooted to what God has spoken before, the providence is on the other side of that. Now, sometimes not immediately. In your case, more or less immediately. But what do you think about that? I think that's a common experience. Obviously, you're experiencing it in England, which is a different space. But do you want to speak to that a little bit? Like, I'm sure you see that in the ministry that you guys do as well.
Yeah. There's Jesus uses suffering and difficulty to expand our heart for what more he's going to give us. And it's often the place of the desert is the place of growth, and the place of humbling ourselves before the God who is going to show himself as faithful and show himself as Father. And so,
and the Spirit sends us there sometimes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The Spirit drove him into the desert
for sure
before the angels ministered to him.
For sure.
Right.
And there's a beauty to in the midst of pain and brokenness, the heart can cry and long for something that it does not yet have, so that the Father can provide more than the heart knows that it's capable of receiving, because it's never received
or
that
knowing.
much before.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. That's so awesome. I wonder, like, just a reflection I have off that, I guess, and then maybe throw it to other questions, or we can continue the story. Just, or maybe what you think, Brother Nathaniel. But I think there's also something that's hitting me right now is that I will never understand the providence of God unless I set aside the providence of self.
Mm-hmm.
That like I provide so much for myself that I think that's sufficient. And it's not until I actually set that aside and let God provide that I see how much more it is for him to provide than me to provide. You know? And it just goes to exactly what you're saying. But that's so amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, can I be cynical?
Oh, damn.
Someone's got to be.
Do it.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, it's like, okay, the apostles didn't have the church. So they didn't have cathedrals and rectories.
For
and
sure.
They didn't, I mean, so technically we're sons and daughters of God. So you're going to your family members and asking your family members to care for you. And your family members are like, oh, you're a beloved son of the church. Of course I'm going to care for you. What about the apostles who were like, you go into a town and they're like, wait, who are you? Like,
For sure.
Like, what are you doing? Like, I want to kill you. You're a foreigner. You're an invader, right? And so, did you have any experiences, and maybe along the way? But like, how is it? Is the poverty pilgrimage usually from church to church, or is there the wrestle of like, I'm going to those who aren't family members and asking for them to care for me?
Yeah. So in some cases, people do experience that going to not family members.
Yeah, there's no one to help you.
I honestly didn't have even an opportunity to really do that. I think I had one case where I was like, I could go knock on random doors right now. But other than that, I was just set up throughout the whole entire month, which was beautiful to see the family of the church and family of God as my Father.
And that's part of it, right? Like, oh my, I have a church I can depend on. So I'm actually never alone. And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, but I cannot boast to people outside of the church supporting me. Like I know some of my brothers can. Other than like financially, I might just talk to them on the train or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, that seems crazy. Here's some money because you're gonna die." But no, within housing and stuff like that, I was taken care of by the faithful of God, which was an incredible blessing. But it became an incredible witness because England is not the most.
Yeah, typically our perspective of the church in England is pretty lackadaisical at best.
Yeah, so to witness, I wear a habit. I wear all black, and so people know I'm about something. And to witness someone in black who is under the age of 60 and might actually talk to you on a train is stark, and you can say some pretty bold things that they've never heard before, and they can come into agreement with the heart of God that they've never experienced, right? Because it's such a stark contrast. And so my relationships with those who are not already in relationship with Jesus was primarily evangelistic,
was ministerial.
And there's a lot of wounds with the church in England. And so being able to, when you wear black, you can, in a sense, be a voice for the church. And so at least on one or two occasions, asking for forgiveness on behalf of the church for wounds that have come, and seeing breakthrough within that, particularly in the heart of one woman in a town called Walsingham, where just no one had listened to her that was in the church before, and she had stopped going to mass, and after I had an Irishman take me to the pub and met her at the pub, and after that time at the pub, she's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to mass for the first time in several years. Because she hasn't had anyone apologize or tell her that her sentiments toward the church were actually okay. And real and valid.
And that's the gift of the apostles, though, right? So to your point, I think that pushback's valid, but then it's like, well, the apostles did that so that we might have a family to actually come to then be sent out again.
Yep.
Right. Like, and I think that's the beauty, right? Is that there's something in that. Again, all of the servants have different experiences, I'm sure. I do think there is a unique thing in the church though. And I do want to say this, like, God bless that man, but there is something unique in the experience we have in today's Catholicism where you're rejected by someone in the family.
Yep.
Like, that's a different experience. The
That hurts a
apostles
lot.
went and got rejected by people who were heathen. But when you go and you're rejected by someone who's even a father in the faith, and again, God bless him, right?
He was a very holy and good
yes,
priest.
and I bless the Lord for that,
Yeah.
No, like, not in a condemnation way at all, but in a way of like, man, those are some significant words to relay to someone that's in the family, and in a way that, again, like can be hard to receive and might even come from a place of woundedness there and misunderstanding and miscomprehension and fear there. So I wonder, like, were you able to process that with the Lord over that time? Or was it really just because providence was so strong after that you went into it? Or were you like, Lord, actually, the more I think about it, I don't know, intercession for that man or going back to the church? I don't know. Maybe none of that happened.
Yeah, I think the movement in my heart toward gratitude that he prepared me for before that conversation let me know that God was going to do something even afterward in the midst of my doubt.
Yeah.
And so being grateful for the man and saying, thank you, God. And I asked to bless him.
Yeah.
And something that one of our other brothers did that I adopted was to ask whatever priests that we stay with or that we talk with, we ask them for their priestly blessing.
Yeah.
And so leaving that man, asking him for his blessing, even after we just kind of got rejected by him, because he's still the heart of the Father revealed. And so asking for the blessing of my Father on my way, even if the blessing isn't received in that spot.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it back to you, Aaron, but I just want to say, brothers and sisters, if you're listening, that's what happens when you go into a circumstance whole. When you go into a circumstance in relationship with the Father, the circumstance doesn't define the internal reality, even when it feels a certain way. Like that, and that's a testament, brother, and just so honored by your words there that you went into that hole because the Father was providing for you. And so you went in and the words of man didn't combat the words of God. That's, if you're listening today, that's like, capture that.
That's
capture
awesome. That's a good word. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Did you ever go visit that priest again? Did you see him again?
No, I went to the church. I probably went to mass probably 4 or 5 times there because London became home base because you can take a train from London to anywhere and you can't get anywhere to anywhere except for through London. And so I ended up staying with Monsignor Armitage at St. Margaret's 4 or 5 times within the span of my month. And I would go back to the cathedral for mass. I think I probably went there, 4 or 5 times, but a different priest was saying mass almost every time. So
how about the couple from the plane? Did you end up meeting them?
I didn't end up even needing them, but I met one of their old parish pastors who took me in, who sent them a message just saying, "Hey, Brother Nathaniel's okay. He wanted to say thank you so much."
What a gift.
So I was so spoiled that I didn't use the majority of. I had to be more careful about who I said yes to than who I said no to, because I can only say yes to so many things. So the random sisters that I met at a youth conference that I ended up at, we're like, come to Scotland with us. I'm like, yes, but I have 14 days to make it halfway through a country and I can't.